Lisa Morgan pushed her glasses up her nose and stared at the computer screen. The numbers dancing across the monitor made no sense. She had been working at the radio telescope facility in Puerto Rico for 8 years, and she had never seen anything like this. It was 3 in the morning. The only sounds in the control room were the hum of computers and the distant chirping of tree frogs outside. Lisa should have gone home hours ago, but something about tonight felt different. The radio waves coming from space seemed to carry, a pattern she couldn't ignore. She leaned forward and adjusted the controls. The signal was coming from the direction of Proxima Centauri, the closest star to Earth. But this wasn't natural cosmic noise. The pattern repeated every 47 seconds, and it was getting stronger. Lisa picked up her phone and dialed Kevin Blake's number. Kevin worked for the government, something to do with codes and secret messages. He often helped the astronomy team when they found strange signals from space. "Kevin, I know it's late, but you need to get down here," Lisa said when he answered. "I found something big." 20 minutes later, Kevin walked into the control room carrying a cup of coffee and looking annoyed. His hair was messy and he wore an old t-shirt and jeans, but when he saw the data on Lisa's screen, his expression changed completely. "This is artificial," Kevin said, sitting down at the computer next to Lisa. "Someone or something is sending this signal on purpose." For the next 2 hours, they worked together to decode the transmission. Kevin's fingers flew across the keyboard as he ran the signal through different translation programs. Lisa monitored the radio telescope, making sure they didn't lose the signal. At 5:30 in the morning, the computer finally found a match. The signal contained mathematical patterns that could be converted into language. As the translation program worked, words began to appear on the screen. "Warning to the inhabitants of the third planet from your star," the message began. "My name is Commander Zara Vex of the Hegemony Fleet. I am sending this message at great risk to my own life." Lisa and Kevin looked at each other. Neither of them spoke. The message continued. "Your world has been marked for conquest by the Galactic Empire. We call this process pacification and integration. Your species will be given the choice to surrender or be destroyed." Lisa felt her heart pounding. She read the words again, hoping she had made a mistake. But the translation was clear. "The invasion fleet consists of 847 warships," the message went on. "They are already traveling toward your planet. They will arrive in exactly 72 of your hours from when you receive this transmission." Kevin stood up and began pacing around the room. "This has to be a joke," he said. "Some kind of prank or test." But Lisa was reading the rest of the message. Commander Zara had included detailed information about the alien ships, their weapons, and their battle plans. The technical specifications were incredibly complex, far beyond anything humans had ever created. "The hegemony has conquered over 6,000 worlds," the message explained. "Most species surrender after we destroy their first few cities. Those who resist are completely eliminated. But you may have one chance." Lisa scrolled down to read more. "The Empire believes conquest should be profitable. If a world costs too much to conquer, they will sometimes leave it alone and mark it as too dangerous to approach. You must make them believe that conquering your world will cost more than it is worth." The message included maps showing where the alien fleet would arrive and which ships were the most important targets. Commander Zara had even provided access codes to hack into the hegemony communication systems. "I am sending this warning because I have studied your species," the message concluded. "You are different from other worlds we have conquered. You fight wars against your own kind with a savagery that frightens even hegemony commanders. Perhaps this makes you dangerous enough to survive." At the bottom of the message was a personal note from Commander Zara. "I have violated every law of the Empire by sending this warning. If they discover what I have done, I will be executed. But I believe your species deserves a chance to defend itself. Use this information wisely. Time is running out." Lisa saved the entire message to 3 different computer systems. Then she printed out 20 copies and gave half of them to Kevin. "We have to tell someone," she said. "The government, the military, everyone." Kevin nodded, but he looked worried. "Lisa, If we're wrong about this, we'll both lose our jobs. People will think we're crazy. And if we're right and we don't tell anyone, everyone on Earth will die. In 3 days, Lisa replied. They spent the next hour trying to decide who to contact first. The problem was that the message sounded impossible. Alien invasion fleets only existed in movies and books. No government official would believe them, without proof. Lisa made a decision that would change her life forever. She walked over to the emergency broadcast system that connected the telescope facility to radio stations around the world. The system was supposed to be used only for natural disasters like hurricanes or earthquakes. "What are you doing?" Kevin asked. "Something that will probably end my career," Lisa said. She began typing a message into the emergency broadcast system. But if Commander Zara is telling the truth, careers won't matter in 3 days. Lisa's message was simple and direct. She explained that Earth was about to be invaded by an alien force, and that governments around the world needed to prepare for war immediately. She included the key details from Commander Zara's warning and urged world leaders to contact the Puerto Rico facility for the complete technical specifications. At exactly 6 o'clock in the morning, Lisa pressed the send button. Her message went out to every major government, military base, and news organization on Earth simultaneously. Within minutes, her phone began ringing. The calls came from the Pentagon, the White House, the United Nations, and news reporters from bureaus around the world. Some callers were angry, some were curious, and a few sounded frightened. Lisa looked at Kevin, who was staring at his own ringing phone with wide eyes. "Well," she said, "there's no going back now." Outside the control room windows, the sun was rising over Puerto Rico. It was a beautiful morning, and Lisa wondered if it might be one of the last peaceful mornings Earth would ever see. The alien invasion fleet was somewhere out there in the darkness of space, getting closer every minute. In 70 hours, humanity would discover whether Commander Zara's warning had been enough to save them. Lisa picked up her phone and began answering the calls. She had work to do. President Jake Morrison was drinking his morning coffee when his phone rang at 6:15. The call came from General Patricia Stone, the highest-ranking military officer in the United States. Her voice was tight with worry. "Mr. President, we have a situation. A radio astronomer in Puerto Rico just broadcast a message claiming Earth is about to be invaded by aliens. The message went out on every emergency channel in the world." Jake almost dropped his coffee cup. "Is this some kind of joke?" "I don't think so, sir. The woman who sent the message has 8 years of experience and a perfect record. She's also provided technical specifications that our best scientists can't understand. We need to take this seriously." Within an hour, Jake was in the White House Situation Room with his top advisors. The large screens on the wall showed news reports from around the world. Every major television station was talking about Lisa, Morgan's warning message. General Stone stood at the front of the room with a thick folder in her hands. "We've analyzed the technical data from the alien message. If this is fake, it's the most sophisticated hoax in history. The weapon designs and ship blueprints are beyond anything we've ever seen." Jake looked around the room at his advisors. "How long do we have?" "According to the message, 65 hours until the invasion fleet arrives." The room fell silent. Everyone was thinking the same thing. 65 hours to prepare for a war against an enemy with technology thousands of years ahead of Earth's. "What do we do?" Jake asked. Meanwhile, at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Dr. Amy Chen was having the most important day of her career. She had been pulled out of bed at 5 in the morning and told to report to the Emergency Research Center immediately. Amy was a theoretical physicist who specialized in energy systems. She had spent years studying nuclear weapons and space technology, but the alien specifications she was looking at now made human technology seem like stone tools. "Look at this," Amy said to her research team. "The alien ships use something called coherent energy shields. They're designed to deflect particle beams and plasma weapons." Her assistant, Dr. Mark Phillips, looked confused. "But what about our nuclear weapons? Do the shields work against those?" Amy studied the technical diagrams more carefully. "I don't think so. Nuclear weapons work by splitting atoms and creating massive explosions. The alien shields are designed to stop energy beams, not explosive blasts. This was the first good news anyone had heard all morning. Amy's team began working frantically to understand exactly how human nuclear weapons might work against alien technology. At the same time, Captain Rick Torres was receiving the strangest orders of his military career. He commanded a nuclear submarine called the USS Michigan, and he had just been told to prepare for combat against alien spaceships. Rick stood on the bridge of his submarine, looking at the printed message from Fleet Command. The orders were clear, but seemed impossible. His submarine was supposed to work with the Air Force to attack alien vessels when they arrived. "Captain," his second-in-command said, "how exactly does a submarine fight spaceships?" Rick didn't have an answer, but he knew that in 63 hours he would have to figure it out. Colonel Beth Martinez was having similar thoughts at Edwards Air Force Base in California. She commanded a squadron of F-22 fighter jets, the most advanced aircraft in the American military, but compared to alien technology, her planes were probably as useful as paper airplanes. Beth gathered her pilots in the briefing room and told them about the invasion warning. Most of them looked shocked, but a few seemed excited by the challenge. "Ma'am," one pilot asked, "what's the plan?" "We're going to modify our jets to carry nuclear missiles," Beth said. "If the aliens want to fight, we'll give them one they won't forget." Around the world, similar conversations were happening in every major military. The Chinese army was preparing defensive positions around Beijing. The Russian Navy was moving nuclear submarines into attack positions. The British Royal Air Force was loading their bombers with every weapon they had. But the most important work was happening in secret research facilities. Amy Chen's team at MIT had made a breakthrough. They discovered that human nuclear weapons operated on principles completely different from anything the aliens had ever encountered. "Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons," Amy explained, in a video call with military leaders around the world. "But our nuclear bombs create physical explosions with heat, radiation, and electromagnetic pulses. The alien shields might not be able to handle that." This information spread quickly through military networks. Nuclear weapons became humanity's best hope for survival. General Stone was coordinating the global defense effort from the Pentagon. She was on the phone with military leaders from 50 different countries, trying to organize a unified response to the alien threat. "We need to hit them hard and fast," she told the other generals. "If we can destroy enough of their ships in the first attack, maybe they'll decide Earth isn't worth conquering." The plan that emerged was desperate but simple. Every nuclear weapon on Earth would be used in the opening battle. Submarines would launch missiles from the oceans. Fighter jets would carry nuclear bombs directly to the alien ships. Even some nuclear power plants were being converted into massive bombs. Lisa Morgan and Kevin Blake were now working directly with the Pentagon. They had become the most important people on Earth simply because they were the only ones who could communicate with Commander Zara. "We need more information," Kevin told Lisa. "Battle plans, weak points in their ships, anything that might help us win." Lisa was already working on a response message to send back to Commander Zara. The message would tell the alien commander that Earth was preparing to fight and ask for any additional help she could provide. As the second day of preparation began, something unexpected was happening around the world. Instead of panicking, people were working together like never before. Countries that had been enemies for decades were sharing military secrets. Scientists were collaborating across international borders. Everyone understood that the survival of the human race depended on cooperation. Jake Morrison addressed the world in a televised speech that evening. "We face an enemy unlike anything in human history," he said. "But we will not surrender. We will not give up. We are going to show these aliens what happens when they threaten Earth." The countdown continued. 54 hours until the alien fleet arrived. 54 hours to prepare for a war that would determine the future of humanity. In research labs and military bases around the world, people worked without sleeping. They knew that the next 2 days would be the most important in human history. The aliens were coming, but Earth was getting ready to fight back. The alien ships appeared exactly when Commander Zara had predicted. At 12:30 in the afternoon, Pacific time, The sky above Earth suddenly filled with massive spacecraft. There were hundreds of them, each one larger than the biggest building ever constructed by humans. Admiral Keth Morrock stood on the bridge of his command ship and looked down at the blue planet below. He had conquered 47 worlds during his career, and this one looked no different from the others. A small world with primitive technology and a species that would probably surrender after the first demonstration of hegemony power. Begin. The standard approach, Morrock ordered his officers. Target their largest population centers. 3 warning shots should be sufficient. The admiral expected this conquest to take no more than 3 hours. Most species surrendered quickly when they saw what hegemony weapons could do to their cities. The few that didn't surrender were easily crushed by the full power of the fleet, but Earth was not like other worlds. Captain Danny Walsh was waiting 30 miles above the Pacific Ocean in a modified nuclear submarine that had been launched into space using experimental technology. His submarine had been stripped of everything except its nuclear missiles and life support systems. Danny knew this was probably a suicide mission, but he didn't care. Someone had to fire the first shot. The moment the alien fleet appeared, Danny launched his attack. His submarine carried 24 nuclear missiles, each one powerful enough to destroy a city. All 24 missiles streaked toward the nearest alien cruiser. The hegemony ship's shields deflected most of the missiles easily, but 2 of them got through and exploded directly against the ship's hull. The nuclear explosions created electromagnetic pulses that shut down the alien ship's power systems for several minutes. Admiral Morrock stared at his tactical display in shock. In all his years of conquest, no primitive species had ever damaged a hegemony ship in the opening moments of battle. "How is this possible?" he demanded. His tactical officer was equally confused. "Sir, their weapons use atomic fission. Our shields are not designed to handle that type of energy release." Before Morrock could respond, the second wave of human attacks began. Colonel Beth Martinez led 12 F-22 fighter jets straight into the alien formation. Each jet carried a nuclear bomb that had been modified for maximum destructive power. Beth's mission was simple: get close enough to the alien ships to detonate the bombs manually. "This is Falcon Squadron," Beth radioed to her pilots. "Remember, we're not trying to survive this. We're trying to take as many of them with us as possible." The alien ships opened fire with energy weapons that could slice through metal like butter. 3 of Beth's fighters were destroyed immediately, but the remaining 9 kept flying straight toward their targets. Beth picked the largest alien ship in the formation and flew directly at its engine section. When she was close enough to see the alien hull plating, she triggered her nuclear bomb. The explosion tore a massive hole in the alien ship's rear section and sent it spinning out of control. 2 more human fighters made it close enough to detonate their bombs. By the time the attack was over, 4 alien ships had been destroyed or badly damaged. Admiral Morrock was no longer confident about an easy victory. The humans were using suicide tactics that no civilized species would ever consider. They were actually ramming nuclear weapons into his ships rather than trying to preserve their own lives. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving multiple transmissions from the planet's surface. The humans are broadcasting something." The transmissions filled the hegemony communication channels with sounds and images that horrified the alien crews. The humans were sending footage of their own wars, showing battles where millions of people had died. They were sending recordings of human leaders promising to fight to the last person rather than surrender. Dr. Amy Chen was coordinating the psychological warfare campaign from her underground bunker at MIT. She had realized that the aliens might be more civilized than humans, which could be used as a weapon against them. "Send them everything," Amy told her team. "Battle footage from World War II, videos of people fighting with their bare hands, anything that shows how crazy humans can be when they're threatened." The alien crews were watching scenes of human brutality that they had never imagined possible. In the hegemony empire, wars were fought with clean energy weapons between professional soldiers. The idea of civilians fighting with kitchen knives and homemade bombs was completely foreign to them. Commander Zara was monitoring the battle from her hidden position within the fleet. She sent another message to Earth with updated tactical information. "You're doing better than I expected," her message said. "Admiral Morrock is starting to worry about casualties. Keep hitting them hard. Make them think conquering Earth will cost more than it's worth. The third wave of human attacks came from an unexpected direction. Captain Rick Torres and 15 other submarine commanders had positioned their vessels in Earth's oceans, ready to launch coordinated nuclear strikes at the alien fleet. But instead of firing from the water, the submarines used their ballistic missile systems to launch nuclear warheads straight up into space. The missiles climbed through Earth's atmosphere and exploded in the middle of the alien formation. The coordinated nuclear detonations created a massive electromagnetic pulse that disabled dozens of alien ships simultaneously. For several minutes, a quarter of the hegemony fleet was completely helpless. Admiral Morox realized he was facing something unprecedented. In all the Empire's history, no primitive species had ever inflicted significant casualties on a hegemony fleet. The humans were supposed to be easy prey, but they were fighting like wild animals backed into a corner. "How many ships have we lost?" Morox asked his tactical officer. 14 destroyed, 23 damaged, sir. And we've been in combat for less than 2 hours. Morox looked at the tactical display showing the positions of human forces around the planet. Instead of retreating, the humans seemed to be moving into better attack positions. They were preparing for a longer fight. "Sir," the communications officer said, "we're receiving a message from the planet's surface. It's addressed to you personally." The message was from President Jake Morrison. It was short and direct. "This is just the beginning. We have thousands of nuclear weapons and millions of people ready to die fighting you. Leave now or we'll destroy every ship in your fleet." Admiral Morox had conquered 47 worlds, but he had never received a message like that from a primitive species. Usually, alien leaders were begging for mercy by this point in the battle. He looked around his bridge at the worried faces of his crew. For the first time in his career, Admiral Keth Morox began to wonder if this conquest was worth the cost. The battle for Earth was just beginning, and the humans had already proven they were unlike any enemy the hegemony had ever faced. They were willing to die fighting, and that made them more dangerous than any advanced technology. Outside the command ship's windows, more human missiles were streaking upward from the planet below. The humans were not finished fighting. They were just getting started. The war had been going on for 3 days, and both sides were exhausted. Large parts of Earth's major cities lay in ruins from alien energy weapons, but the human resistance had not broken. Instead, it seemed to be getting stronger and more creative with each passing hour. General Patricia Stone was running the war from a mobile command center hidden in the Rocky Mountains. She had moved her headquarters 6 times in 3 days to avoid alien attacks. Her uniform was dirty and she hadn't slept in 36 hours, but her eyes were still sharp and focused. "What's our status?" she asked her aide, Lieutenant Colonel James Murphy. "We've lost about 40% of our military aircraft and 60% of our major cities are damaged, but we've destroyed or disabled 97 alien ships. They started with 847, so they still have over 700 left." Pat nodded grimly. The numbers were not good, but they were better than anyone had expected. 3 days ago, most military experts thought the human race would be extinct by now. In the ruins of Los Angeles, something important was happening. Sergeant Carlos Rivera had been trapped in the city when the aliens first attacked. His National Guard unit had been destroyed, but Carlos was still alive and still fighting. He was hiding in the basement of a collapsed office building when he heard a strange sound outside. Carefully, Carlos climbed through the rubble and looked up at the street. An alien fighter aircraft had crashed just 50 feet away from his hiding place. Carlos checked his rifle and moved closer to investigate. The alien ship was about the size of a small car with smooth silver metal and no visible weapons. There was a crack in the cockpit where the pilot would sit. To Carlos's amazement, the alien pilot was still alive but unconscious. The creature looked like a tall, thin human, with gray skin and large black eyes. Carlos could have killed it easily, but something made him hesitate. Instead, he dragged the unconscious alien into a secure basement room and tied it up. Then he began studying the crashed fighter. Carlos had been a mechanic before joining the National Guard. He understood engines and electrical systems better than most soldiers. As he examined the alien aircraft, he realized that it was damaged but not completely destroyed. Working with tools he found in the building's maintenance room, Carlos began trying to repair the alien ship. He had no instruction manual and no idea how alien technology worked, but he was determined to figure it out. After 12 hours of careful work, Carlos managed to get the ship's power systems working. The alien pilot had woken up by then, but it just watched Carlos work without trying to escape. It seemed curious about what the human was doing. The breakthrough came when Carlos discovered that the alien weapons were controlled by sound frequencies. By connecting his portable radio to the ship's weapon systems, he could make the guns fire by playing specific musical notes. But the most important discovery was accidental. While testing the weapons, Carlos played a deep bass note from his radio through the ship's systems. The note created a vibration that made every piece of alien technology in the area start flickering and shutting down. Carlos realized he had found something incredible. The alien ships all used the same basic power systems, and they were all vulnerable to the same sound frequency. He immediately radioed his discovery to the military command center. Within an hour, Dr. Amy Chen and her team were working to understand exactly how Carlos's discovery could be used as a weapon. "It's a resonance frequency," Amy explained to the Emergency Military Council. "All the alien ships use power cores that vibrate at the same rate. If we can generate the right sound frequency and broadcast it loudly enough, we can disable their entire fleet at once." The plan that emerged was desperate, but brilliant. Earth had thousands of radio stations, cell, phone towers, and emergency broadcast systems. If they could coordinate all of them to broadcast the same frequency at exactly the same time, they might be able to create a planet-wide pulse that would disable the alien fleet. Captain Rick Torres was given a new mission. His submarine and 14 others had been equipped with the most powerful nuclear missiles in the American arsenal. When the sound pulse disabled the alien ships, the submarines would have exactly 10 minutes to destroy as many helpless targets as possible. Commander, Zara was still hiding within the alien fleet, but she had been watching the battle with growing amazement. The humans were doing things that no other species had ever attempted. They were treating every day of survival as a victory, and finding new ways to fight even when their situation seemed hopeless. She decided to help them with one final act of rebellion. Zara had access to the fleet's main computer systems, and she knew that the humans needed more time to coordinate their sound weapon attack. Using her command codes, Zara began sabotaging the hegemony fleet from within. She shut down communication systems, disabled weapon targeting computers, and created false reports that confused the other alien commanders. Admiral Morox was becoming increasingly frustrated with the human resistance. His fleet had been fighting for 3 days against an enemy that should have been defeated in 3 hours. Worse, his own ships were starting to malfunction in ways that made no sense. "Sir, we're receiving reports of system failures throughout the fleet," his tactical officer reported. "Navigation computers are showing false readings, weapons systems are shutting down randomly, and some ships are reporting total power failures." Morox didn't know that Zara was sabotaging his fleet. He assumed the malfunctions were caused by some kind of human weapon he didn't understand. This made the humans seem even more dangerous than before. The final attack began at dawn on the 4th day. Radio stations, cell phone towers, and emergency broadcast systems around the world began transmitting the special frequency that Carlos had discovered. The sound was too low for humans to hear, but it traveled through the air and into space. Wendy, the resonance pulse hit the alien fleet. The results were immediate and devastating. Power systems began failing on ship after ship. Within minutes, over 400 alien vessels were completely disabled and floating helplessly in space. Captain, Torres and his submarine fleet were ready. As soon as the alien ships went dark, nuclear missiles began launching from the oceans below. The missiles climbed into space and exploded among the helpless alien vessels. In 10 minutes of coordinated nuclear strikes, the human forces destroyed 237 alien ships. It was the most successful military operation in human history. Admiral Morox watched his fleet being destroyed and realized that he had made a terrible mistake. These humans were not primitive savages. They were the most dangerous enemy the hegemony had ever encountered. For the first time in his career, Admiral Keith Morrocks gave an order he had never given before. All ships, retreat to minimum safe distance. We need to reconsider our approach to this world. But the humans were not finished with their surprises. They had one more message to send to the galaxy. Admiral Keith Morrocks stood on his damaged command ship and stared at the tactical display. In 4 days of fighting, he had lost over 300 ships to a species that wasn't supposed to have space travel. His remaining fleet was scattered and demoralized. Many of his captains were asking for permission to retreat completely. But retreating would mean admitting defeat to a primitive world. In the entire history of the Galactic Empire, no hegemony fleet had ever been forced to withdraw from a conquest. Morrocks's career would be over, and he would probably be executed for failure. "Sir," his communications officer said nervously, "we're receiving another transmission from the planet's surface. It's on all frequencies." The message came from President Jake Morrison, but this time he was not alone. The transmission showed leaders from every major nation on Earth standing together in what looked like an underground bunker. "This is a message to Admiral Morrocks and the Galactic Empire," Jake began. "You came here thinking we were weak and defenseless. You were wrong. We have shown you what happens when you threaten our world." The camera moved to show General Patricia Stone, who looked directly into the lens with cold, determined eyes. "You have lost over 300 ships to our primitive weapons. We have thousands of nuclear missiles left, and we're building more every day. We can keep fighting for years if necessary." Then Dr. Amy Chen stepped forward. "We have captured several of your ships, and we're learning how your technology works. Soon we will have weapons as powerful as yours. But we will never stop being more dangerous than you are." The final speaker was Lisa Morgan, the astronomer who had started everything with her warning broadcast. "Commander Zara gave us information about your empire. We know you have conquered 6,000 worlds, but those worlds surrendered quickly. We will never surrender. We would rather see Earth destroyed than live as your slaves." The transmission ended with footage that made Admiral Morrocks feel sick to his stomach. The humans were showing him videos of their military forces preparing for continued war. Nuclear submarines were being loaded with new missiles. Fighter jets were being modified with captured alien technology. Most disturbing of all, civilian populations were being trained to fight with improvised weapons. But President Morrison had one more surprise. As the Admiral watched, a second transmission began. This one was not meant for the hegemony fleet. It was being broadcast into deep space on frequencies that would reach every inhabited star system within 100 light years. "This is Earth calling all civilizations within range of this transmission," Morrison announced. 4 days ago, the Galactic Empire tried to conquer our world. They sent 847 warships against us. We have destroyed over 300 of them and forced the rest to retreat. The broadcast included detailed footage of the battle showing human weapons destroying alien ships. It showed the coordinated global defense effort and the technology humans had captured from the enemy. "We are sending this message to let the galaxy know that Earth is not defenseless," Morrison continued. "Any species that comes here in peace will be welcomed as friends, but any that come as conquerors will face the same fate as the hegemony fleet." Dr. Amy Chen appeared on the transmission with technical specifications of human nuclear weapons and defensive systems. She explained how human military doctrine was different from other species, and why Earth's chaotic fighting style made it nearly impossible to conquer. The broadcast lasted for 2 hours and included testimonies from military leaders, scientists, and even Sergeant Carlos Rivera, who explained how he had discovered the alien ship's weakness. The message was being transmitted on multiple frequencies and would eventually reach thousands of different worlds. Commander Zara was watching the human broadcast from her hidden position within the fleet. She had managed to avoid detection during the battle, but she knew her luck would not last much longer. She decided to make one final contribution to Earth's cause. Using her access to the hegemony communication systems, Zara began transmitting her own message. She sent detailed reports about human military capabilities to intelligence networks throughout the galaxy. Her message described how humans fought wars and why they were so dangerous to face in battle. The humans are unlike any species the Empire has encountered, Zara transmitted. They do not fight to win territory or resources. They fight for survival, and they will use any means necessary to destroy their enemies. The Empire should classify their world as a Class X threat and avoid all contact. Zara's message included her personal observations about human psychology and tactics. She explained that humans were willing to die in large numbers to protect their world, and that this made them more dangerous than any advanced technology. The message spread quickly through the galaxy's intelligence networks. Within days, every major civilization would know about Earth and its dangerous human inhabitants. Admiral Morox made his decision while reading Zara's intelligence report. He could continue fighting and probably lose the rest of his fleet. Or he could retreat and find some way to explain his failure to the Empire. All ships, prepare for immediate withdrawal, he ordered. We are returning to base. But the humans had one more surprise waiting for him. As the hegemony fleet began to retreat, they found their path blocked by a small formation of human spacecraft. These were modified shuttles and experimental vehicles that had been equipped with nuclear weapons. Captain Danny Walsh, who had survived his space submarine mission, was leading the human formation. His transmission to the alien fleet was short and direct. You're not leaving until we say you can leave. The standoff lasted for 6 hours. The alien fleet had superior firepower, but the humans had proven they were willing to die fighting. Admiral Morox realized that even retreating from Earth would cost him more ships. Finally, President Morrison transmitted a final offer. We will let you leave peacefully, but only if you send a message to your empire. Tell them that Earth is under human protection and that any future attacks will be met with total war. Admiral Morox agreed to the terms. His retreat message to the Galactic Empire was simple. Conquest of the third planet from Sol is impossible. Recommend permanent. Classification as hostile territory. Humans are too dangerous to engage. 6 months later, Earth had become the most famous world in the galaxy. The story of how humans had defeated a hegemony fleet spread to thousands of different civilizations. Some species sent peaceful contact messages offering friendship and trade. Others simply marked Earth's location on their star charts with warnings to stay away. Dr. Lisa Morgan was now head of Earth's new Interstellar Communications Division. She spent her days monitoring radio signals from across the galaxy and listening to the conversations of alien civilizations. The aliens were talking about Earth. They called it the world where the dangerous humans lived. They shared stories about human military tactics and warned each other never to threaten the Sol system. Lisa smiled as she listened to the alien chatter. The warning that had started everything had become something much more important. Earth was no longer a helpless world waiting to be conquered. It was a planet that the galaxy knew to respect. The Galactic Empire had learned an important lesson. Some worlds are too dangerous to conquer, and humans had made sure that Earth was one of them.